There was a point that I felt that I needed to fit in because I just wanted to be accepted for who I am.
I was the only black person in the entire school. Yes, I was the token black girl.
When I first went to elementary, I couldn't speak proper English or couldn't do the things other kids could because my parents had me on a very short leash.
I always carry the sun umbrella around with me, so I guess the Caucasians thinks I'm really weird.
Alright, okay, alright, okay, alright, okay. Strangers. Alright, okay, alright, okay. Strangers. While traveling the atlas, gotta keep the feeling of life in balance. Between me and you, it's a challenge. I'm one person at home and another to them, another to friends. When I step out the door, the kid my fam know don't exist no more.
Hey, I'm Ilwad, and I'm GUAS.
My name is Navdeep, and I am GUAS.
Hi, I'm Jenny, and I am GUAS.
I am Moriyama, and I am GUAS.
We from a place that radiate with hate. The last thing I wanna do be instigate. This the fate that we gotta live with. Mixed Ebonics with a bit of English. Think this, if it was up to me, everyone would accept it's all up to me. Comfortably, we gotta talk it out. Everybody know what being the strangers about. Strangers.
Hello, I'm Wayson, author.
Hi, I'm Zarka. I'm a mother of 4 and a filmmaker.
Hey, I'm Carlos, and I'm GUAS. Well, I was GUAS. Now I'm just GU.
Strangers. Strangers. Strangers.
If your parents are not part of the majority culture, your house is a different universe in a way from the one you step out of to join other people in the majority culture.
First time I realized I was different was when I was 5. I went to the mall with my family and I looked at all these older white women and they're all wearing jeans and shirt, whereas my mom always wore traditional Punjabi clothes. So at that time, I realized that I was different and I wasn't white.
My first day, I just did a check because, you always do that. You look around, say, who's that? And I realized that I was the only black person in the classroom. And later on in the day, I also realized that I was the only black person in the school.
I came to school in grade 3 in Edmonton, and everybody just looked different than me and wore different clothing, had different hairstyles.
It was kind of awkward.
I felt really isolated.
Awkward, but it was cool at the same time because I kind of felt that I was representing all the African people out there, Muslim people.
The first day of school in Canada, me and my Chinese friends is the only kids who had Chinese food. So I just realized I was different.
Everybody spoke a different language, and when somebody would come up to me, ask me a question, I wouldn't know what they're talking about, so I'll just continue to look at my work and just kind of try to ignore everybody in the class.
We had a pretty diverse group when I was in daycare. I still remember being, the only one with a nose like this and ears like that.
And my mom made me put on a pair of pants under my dress and sent me to school, and everyone made fun of me. And that's when I realized something wasn't quite right because I wasn't able or wasn't allowed to dress like the other kids.
In my day and age, the cowboy movies were very powerful in our children's culture, and I wanted to be a cowboy, but they were all white, blue-eyed, gray-eyed. Of course, that was a lie, because history will tell you that there were more cowboys who were native and even Asian and black than there were Anglo-Saxon ones.
Strangers.
Before grade 9, I was way more comfortable at home than at school. So I couldn't wait until the day was over and I just wanted to go home and stay with my family. Our teacher asked us to do a project and work with a partner that we've never worked with before. Me being the guy I am, I went to this Caucasian and I asked him to be my partner. And right now we're best of friends.
You see this in schools. The black kids will sit with themselves, the Indian kids will sit there, the Chinese kids will sit there. No, but there are always a group that don't sit in their group, supposedly. They are the leaders.
My group of friends consists of all races.
They are the ones saying, well, I will now and I will not always, because I belong to this banquet table.
Now that I've talked to everybody, people come to talk to us because they know that we're going to accept anybody into our group.
Kids did treat me very differently. Like soccer games and stuff, I wouldn't be invited to play with them. Gym was very hard for me too, because everybody would pick their teams and I would always be the last one to get picked. And I just felt like I needed to fit in. So I tried doing more things like hanging out with them more often, trying to speak their language.
I have a lot of Chinese friends, but also a lot of Caucasian friends. I sometimes tell them that I have different hobbies from them, such as I like to practice calligraphy. I have been learning for 3.5 years in China.
I always felt that being unique was something I needed to hold on to and cherish versus being weird and freakish. Like, I get to be unique among all these people. I get to be unique among my friends, even though I don't play hockey. I understand something else that they don't, and I can show them.
Strangers.
The difference between my house and my friend's house is the smell. It's because we cook with a lot of spices and they probably don't cook with as much spices as we do, and you could just smell the absence of the spices.
Home and school, they're two different things for me.
At home, they think of me maybe even as a shy person or somebody that's really quiet.
It's like I come home and I have to follow what my parents say, give respect. Even in a situation where I know I'm right, I can't speak back to them. I look after the young ones, I clean and everything like that, and I go to school. It's a different thing. I don't have that much responsibilities on my shoulder. So it's just kind of like, it's easygoing, it's free to do whatever, say whatever.
Whereas at school, everybody knows I'm a vibrant individual.
Sometimes teachers and guardians don't understand how difficult it is for young people to be in those two fearful worlds, fearful of each other, where you are fearful of wondering where you belong and what is right to do at home and what is right to do outside.
I find that the cultures in schools and my home is very different. At home, I usually speak Chinese with my parents and friends, but at school, I usually speak English. I always speak English in schools.
It's a very tough time. Nobody envies anybody having to step into two different worlds in which world A does not understand world B, and you have to exist in both of them.
Strangers.
I think my parents were always really worried about who my friends were, where I was going, very sort of suspicious and paranoid and worried all the time. And that sort of permeated throughout, my teenage years growing up, because there was always the sense that they were worried about the unknown.
In grade 10, when I first started playing football, I got this consent form from my coach, and it says death may be a concern on this sheet. And I read it, and I said, there's no way my parents is gonna sign this. So I took it to my room. I waited for my sister to get home, and I asked her, can you sign this? She said she would. She signed it, put my dad's name on it. And I went and I put it on top of my dresser. And then I went downstairs. Sometimes my parents just go to my room for random reasons, just to look around. And what did I know? Like, my dad went in my room, looked at it, and said, what is this? I'm like, that's my football form. And he asked me who signed it. So I said, I signed it. And then I just got in a lot of trouble for that.
I'm really blessed because I know a lot of other kids have issues with their parents. And I don't. Like, I'm friends with my parents, and they're also authority figures.
And I really wanted to play football, so I went to school, and I tried to explain it with my coach, like what's going on at home. He came to my house and talked to my parents and made sure everything was all right with them and they understood what's going on. My mom especially, she's really supportive of me playing football. Like, she'd buy me the equipment I need and come watch my games sometimes and just ask me how's everything going with football all the time.
When you're an in-between person or intercultural person, and you get more and more awakening in your consciousness, you suddenly find that the strangers aren't always out there, the people you don't know. They often become your own family members. They become strangers. Why? Because you have changed. You are incorporating different values that they don't understand, they can't comprehend, and suddenly you are strangers to each other.
The strangers, from my point of view, is my parents in the Sudanese culture.
So even among Filipinos, they say, "You're Filipino. You don't look Filipino." So it was kind of strange, even among the people that are supposed to be your people, that even still, because of the way you look, you're still a little bit outside, a little bit different to them.
I feel most comfortable at school because I am free to express my feelings and to say what I want and what's really on my mind. And at home is just, I have to think about what I say again and just watch out for what I do. And I have to keep an eye open for my parents all the time, because at home it's just always please my parents first, and then everything comes after that.
I can't have a normal conversation with my friends in front of my parents, or either way, my parents in front of my friends. With my friends, I'm gonna be speaking in English, and I'm gonna be probably saying words that my parents shouldn't hear. And with my parents in front of my friends, I'm gonna be speaking in Punjabi and telling them stuff that I'm not doing and probably lying to them. And if my friends find out and they say something by accident, I can get basically screwed.
But you see, they loved you with rules if you suddenly become a stranger to them. And their rules were you will not change, you will be what we expect you to be, you will be the good little girl or the good little boy we always thought you would be tidy, neat, compact, exactly what we want you to be. And if you're not, you will be a stranger to us. That's tragic because it means that, what is human now is seen as strange. And that's where education comes in, patience, love, and the love that has no rules, that transcends fear. But one can only hope for that, and one needs the courage to go for that. Well, people stereotype people who are big and fat, we call them, or who are skinny and helpless, we think. And it's funny how a lot of skinny Chinese can break your arm.
Stranger.
I'm a Sikh Canadian. Sikh means that you're a learner and that you're going to be learning your whole life.
And one of my peers asked, do they teach you in your religion to kill people? And I wasn't angry. I was like, okay, it's not her fault. And I was about to say something, but before I could, one of my friends got really mad at her, and he was like, what, do you think they're Satanists or something? Of course they don't teach people to kill.
During 9/11, during the same year, in November, December, we were going to India. And at the airport, everybody would be looking at us differently, like we were tourists or something. We got pulled aside, our baggage got checked.
If we were in a Muslim country and the only non-Muslims they ever showed were the IRA or people like that, then you would think, oh, all white people, are suicide bombers. You would start to think the same thing if that's all you ever saw in the news was one community shown one way. And sure, there are Muslims who are terrorists, but not all of us, right?
The second biggest one I would have to say is that all Muslim women are oppressed, especially ones that wear the hijab.
So one day we're in the drama class and the teacher told us to say one kind of food to represent ourselves. And one guy just said kitties, and the teacher said no one eats kitties here. And that guy said, but in China they do. which makes me really upset and shocked. It's just like a stereotype. They don't know the truth, but they just believe in it.
I get stereotyped a lot when I come into like a foreign neighborhood, and I'll be the only black kid, and people will come up to me and be like, hey, you're black, why aren't you tall? Or you should be a good basketball player. I'm gonna be friends with you because you're gonna make it to the NBA and stuff like that. And they ask me about like Tupac and if I knew Tupac just because I'm black and stuff like that.
If you're able to have fun with who you are, you know, and whatever stereotypes people may have about you, while still understanding that there's something sacred about who you are, something very important about your culture, then you're cool, man. You're golden. You'll be able to navigate through whatever situation and whatever scenario, you know, with ease probably. And the people that don't get it, maybe they just don't get it. You know, you're coming up against a wall, a certain person that is really difficult to get through to, or who really won't look at you the way that you want them to look at you. Forget about it.
I've heard of some teachers coincidentally, just as a bad joke, say something disparaging about a race or about a sexual orientation or about another religion. And they don't understand what an enormous bad thing that is, because the children who respect them, the students of any age who respect them, carry that with them. They remember that it's okay to do that. Hey, it's only a joke.
A girl in my class likes to make fun of us because she thinks that we're not good at English and we're from other countries, so we don't know any of their culture. So one day she asked me, Jenny, are you an idiot? And she was like smiling, and that makes me really upset. And I said, no, I'm not. Maybe you are.
When we were really young, growing up in Brampton, and there was that first wave of Pakistanis that came in the 70s. So it was like a huge wave in Toronto. And that was when things were bad for us as little kids, because I think, you know, the other kids didn't like it. Or whenever there's a new wave of immigrants, they're the ones who get targeted and picked on.
I'd be walking down the street, walking home or something, and somebody would drive up and they'd call me a nigger. And I'd look and I'd just be shocked. And one time somebody called me a nigger, so I got mad and I put up the finger. And then they all got out of the car and they came with bats and stuff like that. So I looked around and I couldn't do nothing, so I had to run. And they actually chased me for a very long time because I live very far from where I was. I was walking to the bus stop and they chased me for at least a good half an hour. I'd be climbing fences, he'd be driving around the block, and all those other guys would be running after me and stuff like that. But the fortunate thing was I got away that day. I made it home, and as soon as I got home, I just went to my bed and just went to sleep.
Discrimination kind of puts the sense of anger in your mind, but it's not like you can do anything about it at that time. You're well outnumbered, and it's not like you have a choice.
It's funny when I try to think about if I've gone through any kind of racist moments. I think when I was a kid, I was so oblivious that even if I did, I probably didn't even notice. I always felt that I was more sensitive to whether other people were being offended rather than whether I was being offended. I would joke that I was Filipino. You know, like, Carlos is the shortest guy in our class. He's really tiny. Yeah, I'm Filipino. What are you gonna do? And then it would kind of make it easy without forcing it on people. You know what I mean? I always feel like the best solution is to just be open, but it's important that the receiver is open as well. If you're open enough to ask somebody, to be respectful enough of them and their culture, to be curious and say, where are you from? And you know, is this the food that you would eat?
I feel very happy when people come to ask me about my culture, because I'd rather have them ask me than make assumptions.
A lot of people are friendly here, the people that I've met, and they have some questions. They may sound a bit ignorant, but they don't mean it. They don't mean anything rude by it. They're just curious, so I don't really mind.
I came from a culture of 5,000 years, which my parents were fully aware of, and they instilled in me a kind of respect and dignity for that culture, so I was never having to be ashamed of being Chinese.
My turban's called the patka, and it's just what little kids tie before they start tying the bigger turban. A lot of people assume that the turban is the religious part on our head, but it's not the turban, but it's what it covers. It's the hair underneath that we consider most religious.
I think it is a positive thing for you to live in two different countries because you get to know both of the cultures, which is really cool.
One day I asked my sister the question, why do women wear hijabs? And because I was curious myself. And she told me that many women are judged on their looks, and it's a feminist thing. It's to show that even if their body is covered and their hair is covered, that they can still get a job, they can still get an education, and that they can still be important people in society. And it's showing people that it's not all about looks, it's also about your mind.
If a Muslim woman decides she wants to dress a certain way, whether she wants to cover her hair or cover her face or whatever she wants to wear, as long as she's making that choice voluntarily for herself and no one's forcing her to, then I think that's fine.
I guess every Filipino is supposed to have eaten chicken adobo or pork adobo, which is really easy to make. Like I can make it at home now too. And we had this thing called sisig, which is a really, really greasy dish, but it's so delicious. And it's all the meat off the head of a pig. It's pork head, basically. So it's like little shavings and scrapings and ears and all this stuff put into this dish. And it's just so good. It's so bad for you, but so good.
What I really love about the Sudanese culture is just the respect and loyalty again. Because like I know when I grow older, I want my kids to treat me with respect and tell me they love me and hug me all the time and stuff like that. And I think that's a really important part in one's life.
I really couldn't do without my prayer book or the Calgary Flames. I can literally say that the Calgary Flames are my life. I get sad when they lose, and I get happy when they win.
So you have to be respectful enough to want to know and gracious enough to be able to want to share, to tell. And I think that's important.
My philosophy on life would probably be, life is sum of all your choices. Like, the choices you make in the present will determine who you are in the future.
Freedom is very important.
I was taught that you should never judge people on appearances, that everyone is human.
My life philosophy is basically love, care, and respect.
We're all made of the same stuff for the most part, but we're not really made of the same stuff, you know what I mean? So you bring out the differences because you know that they're there, but it's not a heavy-duty thing.
So I think having friends that have the same values that you share regardless of their faith is important, you know, and it's important to give your kids like a full range of friends to have and not restrict them.
I think the trick of growing up as a good and decent human being is to grow up realizing that you need to respect other people who are different from you at that banquet table. And you share what you have, they share what you might like, and then you learn to respect each other.
Growing Up Among Strangers is produced by Aspen
and Butterfly Typhoon Pictures.
Directed by Nina Sudra.
Cinematography by Patrick McLaughlin.
Edited by Steve Mason.
Music by Philip Fournier.
Animation and graphics by Dan DuMichel and Young Shannon.
And I'm spinning the table. Peace.
Traveling the Atlas, gotta keep the feeling of life in balance. Between me and you, it's a challenge. Strangers. have one person at home and another to them, another to friends. When I step out the door, the kid my fam know don't exist no more. It's the core, who I gotta become. Culturally, gotta learn to be norm, gotta learn to be norm. We from a place that radiate with hate. The last thing I wanna do be instigate. This the fate that we gotta live with. Mixed Ebonics with a bit of English. Think this, if it was up to me, we gotta talk it out. Everybody know what being a stranger's about. Strangers. 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 Traveling the Atlas, gotta keep the feeling of life in balance. Between me and you, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Strangers. It's a challenge.